James.
No, you say something.
I did say something. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
Was I not? Or were you not?
I think whispering doesn't work on Discord because it has some like minimum threshold that has to be met before it'll transmit your audio.
Were you whispering to me when you joined?
I was. But you could not hear me, so I assume that was why.
I heard nothing. Yeah, you can turn all that stuff off if you want.
Generally, I think it's okay.
Yeah, I haven't had
just when trying to whisper to people.
Yeah. For the important moments.
Uh-huh. If I had like an ASMR Discord channel, then I'd have to turn it off.
Is that a thing? That's got to be a thing. You just jump on the voice chat and there's someone 24 hours a day, maybe taking it in shifts, just whispering and crinkling plastic. If not...
That's very, yeah.
There should be.
That's a market. I'm very like removed from Discord. This call is the only reason I have it installed at all.
Oh yeah, me too. No, that's a lie. I use it very occasionally when I'm doing any sort of online gaming session.
Okay.
And not this sort of online gaming that you picture. I'm not like sitting here playing Call of Duty and talking to people, but when a group of friends I have wants to play board games online because you can't meet up in person, then we use Discord as the chat while we play online board games.
So is there like a website that facilitates that for you?
There are heaps, actually. A recent favorite. Do you know the game Scattergories? Scattergories?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. There's a really good online version of Scattergories.
Oh, okay.
And I'm quickly trying to find it. Doop, doop, doop. Actually, probably the quickest place is in this chat on Discord.
citycountryriver.net.
No, it's really.boring.website. Try that. I wonder if that takes you right there if there's a subpage. No, that looks right. Really boring website.
That's a great website name.
Yep.
I just ask for my username and that's it.
Yep, and then you put it in and then it'll take you to a room, to a lobby where you can join a room or create a room. All right, let's have a quick game. I'm going to call the room Blue Bubble Pod. I'll just edit this out of the show.
Or is it title case or all lowercase? Or
I did it all lowercase. I did change it to all title case, but no spaces at least.
Blue Bubble Pod, enter.
You're in. Okay.
I'm in.
2 minutes. Private. No. Okay. Here we go. Go.
I immediately missed the prompt.
What do you mean?
I for one answer forgot I was answering with W's.
Okay. Do you want to start again or are you fine?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Jeez. I'm getting stuck down the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
30 seconds to go.
Oh, no.
6 seconds.
All right, I'm done. Is there a submit I have to do?
No, that's it.
Is it just...
Oh,
okay.
God. Okay. Here we go. No! Things at a wedding. Wives. Both chucked that in there.
That's funny.
All right, no points there. Things worn above the waist. Or watch in a waistcoat.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. I'm giving you a yes.
Yep, I have two. Okay.
Websites. Wikipedia. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
www.
.anything.com.
Anything.
Yeah, typo, but it's supposed to be anything. Didn't have time to go back. Come on.
I guess that's technically a W.
Come on, every single website ever is. Foods that kids hate. Wasabi, yeah, they do hate that.
I don't even know what a watercress is. What's that?
It's some sort of like lettuce type thing. I don't know.
Type of lettuce. Okay.
Yeah, kids definitely hate it. Items in an office. Wi-Fi. Water crackers. I'll give you a yes for Wi-Fi.
What's a water cracker?
It's a type of cracker.
Really?
Usually a very plain one. Oh, the rules are you can't Google, by the way. So don't look this up. You also can't force touch to... These are my rules, or house rules. You also can't force touch to define a word.
So you have to convince me that it's the correct answer? Is that...
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a really plain sort of cracker. I think they're also quite a lightweight sort of cracker. And yeah, you might have them in an office, like might be someone's morning tea or afternoon tea. Who's to say?
Okay. Sure, that's in an office.
Yes,
it can be an office.
Things to do on a rainy day. Watch TV. Definitely giving a yes for that.
Wrestling indoors. I don't know how to respond to these. Yes, you could do that on a rainy day. So I guess that's a yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, wrestling indoors is a bit of a euphemism, so... Thank you. Reptiles / amphibians. You gave a pass.
You basically did too.
What, you can't spell rabbit with a W? Not that it's a reptile.
That still wouldn't be a reptile.
Yeah. Words ending in ly. Wally and wrongly. Is Wally a word or is it a name? Oh no, you can call someone a Wally. Fair enough. Words associated with money. Wallet.
Want, I suppose that's correct.
A want. Yeah. Body parts. Waist and wrist.
Those are body parts.
Is waist a body part?
It's a body part as much as your wrist is.
But the wrist is an actual, like, bone thing.
Isn't the wrist like a collection of bones? Just like your waist would be?
A waist? No, what bones are your waist?
Your hip bones.
Isn't your waist above that? Look,
I suppose.
I'll give it to you.
It's a part of your body.
Famous duos and trios.
What's the west side?
I just started typing to try and give myself like a prompt and I never got anywhere. So
I also wrote pass on that one, but for some reason it didn't come up. So
okay. Oh, because it's a duplicate of something you wrote before, so I think it doesn't count it. Olympic events. Wrestling, yes.
Is whitewater rafting an Olympic event?
Yeah, it's a really good one too. You haven't watched it?
I don't know if you're trying to trick me now.
No way. No, whitewater rafting is a really good Olympic event that I really like watching. I swear to God, I'm not trying to trick you.
Uh-huh.
And I almost put wrestling and I thought, surely David will write that. So then I changed it.
It doesn't count if we both say the same thing, huh?
Ends in a tie. Yeah, we can't write the same thing. 9 and 9.
But for some reason, I won. Why did I get the crown?
I don't know. Is it because you finished faster? Why do you get the crown?
I don't think I finished faster because I was like up until the last second.
Yeah, me too. Maybe it's just a random crown if it's a draw. Because you can just play like unlimited rounds of this too. So, yeah. We'll call it a draw.
This is great.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
I'm saving this website for... we're always looking for like team building activities at work that we can do remotely.
Mm-hmm.
This will be a great one. We should just do this all night. We can find a few more people to play with us.
I already closed the room. Sorry.
Too late.
Too late. It's gone forever. So I've got some follow-up.
All right, let's hear it.
About the No Such Thing as a Fish podcast. So I found that they had Club Fish where you can subscribe and remove the ads, and then I kind of got confused after that because I subscribed and all the ads were still there and I didn't know what to do. Well, they actually tweeted that it was their fault. Nothing to do with the Apple Podcast app being bad, but it was totally their fault, and they'd forgotten or just not yet removed all the ads from older episodes, which were the ones I was listening to. Yeah, there was nothing I had to do. You just click subscribe, authenticate with Face ID, and I think that was it. And also, after I read that, I went to resubscribe because I already had the refund from my previous subscription. And guess what was there? A trial. So it's not exclusive to North America. I must have just jumped on like really early in the rollout, or they only just activated it and hadn't finished setting it up. That's what it seems like, because all of this is pretty new.
So is the trial something they can, like, a podcast can choose to have or not? Or I just assumed it was like Apple was giving me a free trial. But is it no such thing as a fish that decides that?
I guess we could find another podcast with a subscription and see if there's a free trial on that. But I don't know. I thought it would have been the podcast that offered it, but I guess we'd have to pay like the $20 to get onto the program to find out.
I'm doing something I've never done before, and I'm in the browse tab of the podcasts app, trying to see if there's like a section for premium podcasts or something. But I don't see anything that's like, oh, here we go. Subscribe to support. Okay, so I tap into one of those. Yeah, I get a free trial on this too. It could be a coincidence, but...
So it's not an Apple offering, it's a author offering, by the sound of that.
Oh. Well, every single podcast I'm going, oh, wait, nope. I just found one that doesn't have a free trial. So yes, it does seem to be podcast specific. But a lot of podcasts are doing a free month, it seems like.
And you've already used your free month with Fish, so it's not like a once-off thing.
I have not.
Oh, okay.
I know I said I was gonna look into it, and then you tweeted at me a couple weeks ago with the status update, so I realized I didn't have to look into that for you, so I didn't.
All right, give me a podcast where you can see a free trial, because I have subscribed to Fish, so I'll know if it's just a once-off or what.
Okay, I got to go back into it. It was Murder with My Husband. That was one that had a free trial. A true crime podcast that ventures into the darkest crimes with a wife who loves it and a husband who hates it.
Yes, I am offered a free trial, or $155 per year.
Oof.
That's pricey. They must do some pretty frequent episodes, you'd hope. They put out a lot of content.
Some of these are like $10 a year. Oh, but some of them are $100 a year as I'm looking at them.
Oof.
Wow. So what's your actual podcast subscription list look like these days?
As in everything I'm listening to?
Yeah. What do you maybe not even what are you subscribed to, but what do you actively listen to?
Well, No Such Thing as a Fish, obviously. It's probably number one. The Blue Bubble podcast, you may have heard of that one. The probably Accidental Tech podcast would be high up on the list. In Our Time from the BBC. That's a good one that spans history and science and tech and culture and even like poetry. So that's a pretty good one. A few other bits and bobs as well, such as Reconcilable Differences every now and then. That's got one of the hosts of Accidental Tech podcast on it. The History of English podcast. That's a long time. I've been listening to that for, feels like a decade already. Probably not that long. Hardcore History in the similar vein. There are a few others in the list, but they're not really active. So, I'll listen if something comes out, but not on a regular basis. Why do you ask? You looking for something else?
I was just curious. No, I'm not. I don't even have time to listen to what I am subscribed to. I just know we I think when the show started, one of the first things we talked about was what podcast do we listen to, and I was curious.
That's true.
What the status of that is over the years.
I wonder how much overlap there is with my current list and that list.
I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any overlap with what I would have said, 5 years ago. And in fact, I think most of my podcast listening has been strongly influenced by you and just being more in the Apple podcast scene, I guess, because I listen to Fish frequently, and that was 100% a recommendation of yours. ATP came from you. I do listen to Rectifs as well. That came off of ATP. It's also just an occasional listen for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm subscribed to Us. I'm subscribed to Stack Trace, which is Guy Rambo's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen to it very frequently. The only episodes that I usually tune in for is they do like a poker game before Apple events where they bet on what they think is going to be announced. And I usually listen to that and the follow-up episode afterwards. A few things, I only have like maybe a couple things that are unique to me. I listen to Ear Biscuits a lot, which is Rhett and Link's podcast.
That is one I've never even heard of. So,
okay.
Can you give me a one-liner on that?
Oof. So you're familiar with who Rhett and Link are, right?
That's a no.
Oh, really? Okay. Maybe they're more of a American phenomenon. They're big internet tainers on YouTube. They have a daily show they do called Good Mythical Morning. And before that, they did like music videos and funny skits, like 10, 15 years ago on YouTube. And that's when I found them. And they lived kind of in the rural South, and they did these funny videos. And then they flew out to California, to make a TV show, and that kind of fell through. And then they just started another TV show, and that fell through. And eventually they started this internet series called, I cannot believe you've ever heard of Good Mythical Morning. It's one of the biggest channels on YouTube.
Really? Wow.
But anyway, yeah. So they've started doing that. And I've kind of fallen off watching a lot of their YouTube stuff. I don't want to say they've gotten too mainstream or whatever, but their content has to be like very specifically done for a general audience, and it's very highly produced now. It's not just two friends making videos anymore. But their podcast has a lot of that. It has a more personal touch, kind of like some of their older stuff did in my mind. And they're very open and vulnerable, and they talk about growing up in like a very religious southern part of the United States and moving to California, and how their lives have changed from that, and then just like, the kind of adventures you get on as big kind of producers in the Hollywood area.
All right. Well, I've subscribed, so I'll have a listen. See what I think. Won't have much in common. May not be able to relate to them at all, but we'll give it a crack.
Right. The other podcast that I listen to with any frequency is called Where Should We Begin? And it's by Esther Perel. And it's every episode is a recording of a couples therapy session. So Esther Perel is a therapist, a couples counseling therapist. And people can volunteer to have their counseling sessions be on her show. And so you hear about all these different people's life experiences and relationship issues they're going through. And she talks about about them, and then also in a more general sense how this applies to people and how to work through it. And I don't know, very insightful. I've enjoyed listening to that quite a bit too.
Okay. From Gimlet, a huge studio, so it must be pretty high quality.
Okay.
I will add that to the list as well.
Well, I hope you enjoy them.
Thanks. I have to say the Esther Perel one is not really in my wheelhouse. I probably wouldn't listen to that sort of thing normally, but I'm willing to give everything a shot.
Okay.
Just reading a few of the blurbs from Ear Biscuits, though, I think it might be good. Something I enjoy. I want to make a special recommendation as well, just because we haven't mentioned it, but the Connected podcast I listen to on and off. That's the one with what's his name? Federico, sorry, not Francesco. Federico Vitici, Stephen Hackett, and Mike Hurley.
Okay. That's not one I've listened to, but I will add that to the subscriptions as well.
It's very frequently featured in keynote slides, so if you become familiar with the connected artwork, you'll start seeing it during keynotes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very it's got the Apple's 6 colors.
That's it. Yeah. This has come in great time for me because I'm going to be catching a long flight, getting on a long flight in about 8 weeks.
In a month. Yeah.
No, 2 months. So my unlistened podcast list needs to be quite long. I've gone on long flights before and forgotten and stepped on the plane, taking off so the airplane mode is on, and then gone to my podcast player and I got 2 downloaded shows for this 13-hour flight. What have I done? What a mistake. I don't know. I always consider visual media first and forget podcasts, but now 8 weeks out, I've got to build up a list.
Podcasts are great. They're my go-to if I'm in the car or doing yard work or whatever. I always have a podcast on. Mm-hmm. So how do you think Paul and Johannes are going to handle a 13-hour flight?
Hannes is no stranger to them. This will be Paul's first flight of any length, though, so we'll see how he goes. Hannes is at an age where he can watch TV for long periods, so should be fine. And Paul is just starting that phase of being able to watch things for long periods. We're not really a TV house, but I'm quite happy to make an exception for a long flight. That's what everyone is doing, and what else do you do, really? Right.
So is that your go-to then? In the past, trying to keep at least Johannes entertained is maybe a tablet or something?
Hannes will be watching something, but in the past it has been different because the first time I think I've only done one long flight with him because the second time I didn't go and just Yasmin went. The first time, I don't even think he was walking. So it was quite easy to contain him. I think he was still crawling. And then the second time when he was walking, I wasn't on the flight, so it wasn't my problem. Poor Yasmin. I'm sure he was running up and down the aisles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be stuck on a plane for anyone.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just 13. It's 13 and then a 3-hour layover and then another 6 after that.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
Do you try to get the overnight flights so you can sleep through most of it, or how do you handle long trips like that?
Yeah, so the good one that leaves Perth is on an A380 at nearly 10 or nearly 11 o'clock. I think it's nearly 11 o'clock at night. So, once they're on the plane and the plane's in the air, I'm sure they'll be straight to sleep. And then hopefully they wake up just before we land in Dubai, and then it's fine if they're awake again for the 6-hour flight after that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the plan.
Wow.
We'll see how it goes.
I don't envy you.
I have been looking for noise cancelling headphones for the kids, and I've actually bought one set just as a trial.
Okay.
So are you aware that Anker has a brand called Soundcore? I know you know Anker, but they have a brand, Soundcore, and they make budget-priced noise-cancelling headphones.
I don't think I've ever heard of them.
They do have a range, but for less than $100, you can get some not terrible noise-cancelling headphones.
And these are like over-ear headphones?
They are over-ear, yeah. I mean, it's the only thing that kids can wear, really. Earbuds are typically too big for their ears, and not noise-cancelling, unless they're in-ear, and then Hannes might deal with that, but Paul's too young for anything to stick in his ear.
Right, sure. Okay, yeah. I don't know what you saw. I see some Soundcore Life Q20s noise cancelling for $60.
Yep, they've got Q20s and Q30s, and then some have a plus on them, and then there's like the 35 and the 25. So the 20 range charges with micro USB, so I just avoided them at all costs, but the 30 range has USB-C charging. Although the 20 range can do noise cancelling over 3.5mm jack, which is kind of nice if you expect to watch things on the plane system. But I thought they're going to have the screens of their own, so we'll just go the 30 range, get the USB-C charging, and not worry about 3.5mm input noise cancelling. It still does 3.5mm input, which is fine, but without the noise cancelling.
And you said you've already received a pair.
Yeah, I bought one pair as a trial. They feel...
Have you done a test fit?
The sound quality is okay. Like, for the kids, they're not going to care. I wouldn't want to listen to music with it. The buttons feel very cheap, and they're all the same. So, like, the on button, the mute button, the noise cancelling button, and the volume buttons are basically all the same size. So you can't operate it by touch unless you memorize the buttons first, or you take it off your head and look at what you're pressing, which is kind of dumb.
Is it adjustable enough that would fit a small head?
Yes, it'll even fit Paul's head. So he's the smallest, 2-year-old.
Oh, wow.
And it fits his head just fine at the smallest size. And the noise cancelling works pretty well too. I'm not an expert on noise cancelling, but I wore them for a bit, and Yasmin was talking and couldn't really hear her, so I was cancelling out the voice. We'll see how it goes on a plane, but again, it's for the kids. They're not audio connoisseurs, so as long as it does a little bit of noise cancelling and it means they don't have to listen to their stuff at 90% volume, then I'm happy.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully, kids are more resilient, generally speaking, so they probably won't have the same that like annoying pressure feeling that I get from the noise cancelling headphones.
That's all thanks to me, isn't it?
I will never know, but I can blame you forever because you put it in my head.
I'm sorry about
that. It's fine. I really don't need noise cancelling headphones for anything. Even maybe it's just because I have never tried them in an environment where they'd be useful, and so I don't realize it. But even mowing my yard, I just use regular headphones, and it doesn't bother me. But I do have them turned all the way up. That's
terrible, though, to have to turn them all the way up.
Well, I just don't know any better, I suppose.
But
I will say that I have an electric lawnmower, so it's not quite as loud as a traditional one.
Yeah, but it's not the point of how loud is the thing that you're doing, but the fact that you've got your headphones at maximum volume. That has to be bad for your ears.
Probably.
No, not probably. Definitely.
Okay.
There's a reason they've got like the volume monitoring stuff in the phone. It's to keep people's headphone volume at a reasonable level. If you were just in a quiet room and your headphones were at maximum volume, I mean, that's bad, right? Just because you're mowing the lawn doesn't make that any better.
I agree with that, but I don't. Noise canceling headphones are the solution, I guess. But I was gonna say, if it has to be turned up to be louder than the lawnmower, that means the lawnmower is already that loud. So I'm exposed to that volume either way.
And that's why you should wear earmuffs when you're mowing the lawn, I suppose.
Okay. Maybe I do need to get a pair of like AirPods Pro or something and give them a shot. Maybe it'll be life-changing for me. Because I couldn't wear something like AirPods Max or, over the ear headphones when I'm mowing and it's, 39 degrees C out or whatever.
Because you work up a real sweat and then they get real nasty. You can change the cups on those, but I'm not sure the cost or if you want to do that on a regular basis because of lawn mowing sweat.
Yeah, they'd still be hot and uncomfortable even if I could keep them clean. So it'd be less than ideal.
I'm kind of in a similar boat because I need something for myself for the plane. Forget the kids. Mm-hmm. They can deal with their cheapy anchors. But I mean, I kind of want to use AirPods, but nothing fits me besides the ancient first gen or 1.5 gen AirPods or the AirPods Max.
That sounds like you've answered your own question.
I just can't face spending that sort of money on headphones.
I love them every time I put them on in an Apple store or anyone that has them on display. And every single time I do, I just wish I had an excuse or a situation that I would use them because they sound so nice. But you actually have a scenario that they would come in handy.
I do. I'm a little bit hesitant because of stories of they don't have good longevity. But, as is always the case, the people who have the problems make the posts about the problems. So maybe there are dozens possibly of AirPods Max users without problems, and then the 3 that have the problems are doing all the posts. So for that reason, I'm a bit hesitant. Although, of course, you get the like a multi-year warranty or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I think in your situation, I wouldn't make any decisions right away because there's been a lot of rumors that AirPods Pro 2 are on the horizon. So maybe you'll get lucky and those will get announced, with the iPhone at the beginning of September. You can get a pair of those before you hop on your flight.
That is indeed something I've considered and crossing my fingers for. And there is another little perk I get by buying everything right before my flight. I'm not sure if you guys have this, but you can claim all the tax back on stuff you buy within 2 months of leaving the country.
Really?
So I could actually get a decent amount of money back on a phone and headphones. Of course, you're not supposed to bring the things back into the country, but because the program is for tourists who buy a lot of stuff, and then they shouldn't have to pay tax if they're just buying it and then taking it home to wherever they're going. But I've done it before. Yeah, you just sneak it back in. I mean,
that sounds like it's gonna be time to get a new MacBook Pro and a new iPhone and an Apple Watch.
Well, that's actually what I did with my MacBook Pro last time. What was it, 2018 maybe, when I bought the MacBook Pro, and I carried it around the world for 2 months just so I could claim all the tax back on it. Otherwise, I had no reason to take it, really.
So how does that work? How do you prove that you left the country after buying it?
Well, after the immigration desk, so you've had your passport stamped, or probably not stamped these days, but scanned by computer. There's just a little desk, and you go up there and you show them the thing, and you show them your receipt, and they take your bank details, and a few weeks later, the tax portion is in your account.
And so does that work the opposite for you then too? Are you supposed to pay taxes on anything you bought outside the country and brought back with you?
Yes, but there is an allowance, a duty-free allowance, and it's something like $1,000 for an adult and half that for a child, roughly. So you can go shopping and bring stuff back and not pay the tax, but it's designed to stop people from just buying stuff and selling it once they get here, I suppose.
Right, yeah. It'd be so easy to pull off a scam like that. We can jump right over the canal to Japan and bring a bunch of stuff back with you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, but
Okay.
it's a good system, and I've used it extensively in the past, so I'll try and use it again this year, as long as everything is launched or in my hands before the 27th of September.
So let's say that you bought everything, and as a precaution, you had it delivered to a friend or relative's house. Could you leave the country with just the receipt and say, look, I bought this before I left, or do you have to have the product in your hand?
Well, I believe I could just attempt to do it without the product, because there have been cases where I've just had to like chuck the receipt in an envelope with a form in a box because there's been no one at the desk. It's a risk, but yes, I could do that.
Just, it seems like a wasted opportunity not to like buy all your technology needs for the next year before you leave the country.
For the next year. Yep. And by the way, there's, I think, a minimum amount you can claim as well of $300.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't be worth the effort for something much smaller than that.
Yeah. Yep. But
So
I
speaking
don't.
of computers, how is yours?
Come on, you stole my segue. I was just launching into it. But speaking of MacBook Pros, I don't need a new one because last time we talked, I didn't have my MacBook Pro because the repair dude was putting in the third or maybe fourth battery to try and get one that wouldn't suddenly drop by huge chunks of charge. And not long after we recorded, he sent me a message and said, I put a new battery in it, and I watched it go from 100 to 0 at a steady clip. So come and pick it up. And that's where I am. I've got my ancient now, by any standards, MacBook Pro with a battery that lasts for a good amount of time and doesn't suddenly die. It doesn't turn off during peak performance. Yeah, happy days.
Does it run the latest operating system?
Yes, it does, because the one it doesn't run isn't out yet.
Get by on a technicality. So you really think that's going to get you by for a while then? You're not going to worry about an upgrade?
I'm not begging for an upgrade, no. It's still a fast computer by some standards. It has the SD card reader. It's got HDMI. It's not any heavier than the current ones. It's got a retina screen. The webcam is just as good as the current ones. Yeah, I'm not begging for a new computer anymore.
The current ones have 1080p webcams. That's better than yours.
They're pretty bad, though. You know, it's not like going from SD to 4K. It's going from like SD to barely HD.
HD to full HD, right? It's technically the monikers for those.
HD. Oh, I love that distinction. Conned so many people who are buying TVs in the mid thousands.
Yeah, this is an HD TV.
So yeah, obviously I get a lot of fan noise and I don't get 20 hours of battery life, but but I don't particularly mind those two things to save a couple of $1,000s and maybe get another year or two, maybe even convince my employer to buy me something. Who knows?
Oh, is that an option? Is this also your work computer?
I'm working on it. Yeah, I work on my MacBook Pro. I do have a work computer, which is a ThinkPad of some description, but you know, I never use it. I never touch it.
Okay. Yeah, seems like you could maybe pull someone's arm there and get a new computer out of it.
Stay tuned.
Okay. What you don't get, though, is the really sleek, nice M2. I know this probably wasn't going to be on your wish list of what you'd upgrade to anyway, but I did get to hold and play with the M2 MacBook Air since we last spoke, and it is very sleek. It's very nice. That it was definitely another case of wishing I had a reason I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
But besides looking and feeling really nice and impossibly thin, it doesn't do anything more than my M1 MacBook Pro. So
that's a great feeling, though. The feeling of being impossibly thin. I kind of felt that with the 12-inch MacBook when that came out.
It's not quite in that territory, unfortunately, because the 12-inch MacBook is incredible. But it is technically thinner than the 12-inch MacBook was at its thickest. But it's a uniform thickness, whereas the 12-inch was tapered. I got to see Midnight and Starlight, both of those colors. And my thoughts on it were exactly what I've heard in all the reviews, is I love the Midnight color, a very deep, dark blue, almost black, very reminiscent of the slate colors they had for like the iPhone 5 and the first iPad mini. But looking at it in the store, the Starlight looked pristine and the Midnight was covered in fingerprints.
That would drive me crazy. There's no way I could live with a computer like that.
I probably could, but I'd be wiping it off every day. So I think even still, that would be the color I'd opt for if I was buying one today.
Okay. I do wonder if they planned already to have a larger variety of colors for this computer, following on from the 24-inch iMac.
Yeah, the iMac is such a throwback to like the G3 iMacs and all their colors. It made me hope for like the original iBook clamshell throwback when those were also colorful as well. And maybe we'll still get that. There's still rumors of this like mysterious mid-tier like 16-inch MacBook that's going to be between the Air and the Pro, and maybe that could be colorful. That would be cool to see.
Yeah, or a larger MacBook Air, if that's what they're going to call it. Is that one and the same, the larger MacBook Air and this mid-tier MacBook?
Yeah. I don't think there's consensus yet on what it's going to be called. So my hope is that that's going to be the new MacBook, and then that would be the reason for it to be more colorful than the Air. But a larger Air seems equally, if not more likely. They seem to really like the Air name.
Oh, they do. Yeah, very sellable because of its
right.
What's the word? Not heritage, but pedigree. I don't know. Whatever. And I do like the uniformity of having the small and the large iPhone non-Pro, the small and the large iPhone Pro, and then carrying that over to the MacBooks as well. The small and the large MacBook Air and the small and the large MacBook Pro.
Yep, it makes sense. It would make more sense if they dropped the Air name, but they were not going to do that.
How come you got to have both of them, or look at both of them? Were you in an Apple store?
I was in a big retail store that had it's kind of like one of those Apple pop-up stores. So they had the new MacBook Airs on display. So I got to look at and play with those, and I got to. It's not the first time, but I also got to see like the Mac Studio and Studio Display and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, but I don't really have much of a comment on either of those. There's not much new about the Studio Display. It's the iMac's display, and the Mac Studio is just a box.
The joy comes in using them.
Right, which I don't get a lot of experience with. I open like notes and type a bit, and then I'm like, okay, this was cool.
It works.
Yeah.
So what do you mean that Siri died?
It's been an issue with the last couple versions of the iOS 16 beta. Siri just doesn't work on my iPhone anymore. Whenever I try to invoke her by holding the side button or saying Yo Siri, it gives you the I'm listening ding, and then it immediately says something went wrong. And that happens on my phone. That happens on CarPlay. I can't use Siri at all to dictate messages or to set a timer or anything like that. And it's carried across multiple versions of the beta now, so I don't know what's going on. But I did look it up online and see that I'm not alone, at least.
So it's not just the dictation part of it. It's all of Siri. I didn't think there was a big change in Siri between iOS 15 and 16. And the only thing I've noticed is that the Siri listening chime is different.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It seems to be only the American English Siri. Because I don't know if you caught it. I was only very briefly this bullet point in the notes was subtitled James in my pocket because I changed Siri to like a male Australian.
No, I didn't catch that. It might have creeped me out a little.
And that worked, but it ended up, I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was with my HomePods or something. Things in my home started complaining that Siri wasn't set to recognize the same dialect of English across all the devices. So I set it back to American English, and I'm just going to have to deal with that. My phone and CarPlay Siri is not going to work for a while.
Why not just downgrade to iOS 15?
I suppose that's an option, but it's such a hassle.
That's what I've done. Actually, since we recorded, I've both upgraded to the betas and then downgraded to the non-betas.
What caused you to do that?
Well, there are two things that caused me to downgrade. One was just an annoyance, which I could have lived with, and one was kind of scary. So the annoyance was whatever weather source iOS 16 uses, it was just wrong. Like, the morning after upgrading to iOS 16, it'd been like blowing a gale for like 3 days straight. And then I checked the weather app on my phone and it said, it's just going to be cloudy today, no rain, no thunderstorms, as we'd had like 3 or 4 days worth of. Mm-hmm. I thought, we're in for a good day. And then I saw some lightning in the distance. And then I went and checked the Bureau of Meteorology's website, and we were in for another day of thunderstorms. And then I went and checked my watch, which is on the standard watch OS, and I checked Yasmin's phone, and everything had the right weather except for my iOS 16 phone, which had different weather. So,
interesting. What data source could they be using that would be so wrong?
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a different data source. Maybe it was just a bug. But it had the wrong weather, had the wrong conditions, had the wrong temperature.
Maybe it's fetching for like the wrong location or something?
Yeah, that's what I considered. But
maybe it's using your private relay, and so it's looking at somewhere like, 50K away from you or something.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. But that was just a minor annoyance because I could have always just checked my watch or whatever. Foreshadowing another topic. But the scary thing was, all right, picture this. 6 o'clock in the morning. I wake up. Mm-hmm. My phone is under my pillow. So no one's been using it. Mm-hmm. And I get a ding. The ding may have woken me up, or I might have been awake already, or whatever. It's my sister who's in a time zone a few hours ahead of me. And she said, What was that photo you just posted in the photo stream and then deleted? And I said, WTF? What are you talking about? I've just woken up. My phone's been under my pillow. And she said, yeah, you just posted a photo of some clouds and then deleted it from the photo stream, like the family photo stream. What the hell, man? My phone is randomly posting photos in photo streams. So I was like, F this. I am getting back onto iOS 15 ASAP.
I have heard of a few people complaining about the weather being inaccurate. I've never heard anything about the phone sharing photos.
That's scary. I mean, I keep my nudes in offline storage, of course, but
of course,
sometimes there are still nudes on there.
Wow. Maybe that's a bug around like the new shared photo library feature.
Yeah, which I hadn't touched.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't been doing anything crazy in photos that would have prompted this. I don't think I'd even attempted to share a photo into a photo stream since the upgrade. All I can think of as a possible scenario is I tried to post something in a photo stream previously, like sometime in the last few years, and it had bugged out, and iOS 16 somehow fixed that bug, and it was still like pending to be posted after all these years. That's all I can think of.
So you weren't able to identify like, oh yeah, I just took pictures of clouds yesterday, so that's probably the photo that was shared.
There have been no good clouds here for many weeks now because of the bad weather. No, we haven't had clear enough sky to identify a single cloud to take a photo of it.
Wow.
No, I probably wouldn't have posted a photo of clouds to a family photo stream anyway.
That's why you deleted it.
Yeah.
What if you actually just like not sleepwalking, but you're like sleep photo sharing, and you actually did do it?
That's possibly even scarier because it means my downgrade to iOS 15 hasn't solved anything.
I can protect you from it. So you use a family photo stream. Do you think you're gonna try out the shared library when that fully comes out?
I doubt it. So my scenario for using the shared photo stream, the family photo stream, is with my extended family, so my siblings and my parents. There's no way I would have a shared photo library with any of them. If it was going to be used with anyone, it would be with Yasmin and the boys once they're older and have phones of their own. But I struggle to imagine a scenario where I would want to automatically share photos with Yasmin. We do have a photo stream, a shared album just between us two, which I occasionally put things into, but certainly not often enough that I would want it to be automatic.
You're not worried about having like a centralized, this is where all the photos we've taken of the kids is?
No, I mean, it's only 2 people. It's easy enough to go and have a look. I like mine to be fairly well cultivated. Is that the right word? I know you can just switch between this is mine, this is shared, this is...
Right.
Yeah, between those 2 options. I don't know.
That was... And maybe it's a bit OCD, the way I always thought about it, but I was always like, and still to this day to an extent, hyper conscious of like, I want... like before my daughter's mom and I broke up, we always had a shared photo album, and we still do have one actually, but a shared photo album that every picture either of us take of the kids, it always goes in that shared photo album. And I made sure everything that was posted in there by her, or like my parents and all the grandparents and family friends were in there. I would save all of those to my phone, so they were in my library, so that I had like, this is the definitive, every photo taken of the kids is in my library. And so the shared photo library sounds like if I was in a situation where I could implement it, would be still a great solution for me, but I'm still going to be stuck to shared photo albums, I think. The issue with shared photo albums is there's like a limit for how many photos that can be in it. I don't remember what it is, but I remember we bumped up against it years ago. And we've had to like make a new one. So all of our photo albums are like labeled 2020, 2021, 2022. Because if we go any longer than a year, we start hitting the ceiling for how many photos can be in there.
That's not something I've ever hit against, and I've been using shared photo albums since the dawn of them. So let me look at the most updated one, which is the one I mentioned before. We call it Family Snaps, and it's the one with my siblings and parents. The first photo was posted in June 2010. That doesn't even sound right, unless it was... Yeah, June 2010, there you go. And we only have 2,700 photos in it.
Well, you're more than halfway there, because the cap is 5,000.
Okay. So we've got another 12 years, and maybe they will have increased the limit by then.
Hopefully. So let me see. Yeah, we had a generic family pics album that hit 5,000, and we stopped being able to post to it. So we started a new one every year since 2019. And when you do one a year, it's not bad. They've got let's see, like 2,000 photos a year. So still quite a bit.
What is it about the number 5,000? Because that is also the limit of YouTube's playlists. 5,000 things on
Really?
a playlist.
I don't know.
I've never heard that as a common computing limit.
Right, it's 625 bytes, so it divides by 8 evenly, so that probably means something. There's probably some variable that maxes out at that. I don't know. Computers are tricky. Well, while I'm complaining about Siri not working on my phone and in my car, I've got more complaints about CarPlay.
Go on. Now, you're on the
In the
beta, right, of CarPlay?
I'm still in the beta. And
Yes,
one
but
of the things...
Hang on. I just want to work out. If you're on the iOS 16 beta, are you also on the CarPlay beta, or do you have to be given those entitlements?
No, CarPlay gets the beta updates. It's all built into iOS.
Okay.
So in the latest beta of iOS 16, they added new wallpapers to CarPlay. And they've given CarPlay the same treatment they always give iOS when they add wallpapers. They had to take some away, which is frustrating in iOS, but not that big of a deal because you can set custom wallpapers. But in CarPlay, I had a CarPlay wallpaper that matched the color scheme of my car, and they took it away. And now I can't have my car's head unit match the theme of the rest of my car, and there's no way to choose a custom one. I've got to choose one of the half dozen they have as an option.
I'm very sad to hear that. What a disaster. Now you're going to have to retrim your car.
Yeah, basically I'm going to have to redo all the interior lights because my car is black, but it's got red accents and the LED lights inside the interior are all red. And so I just had a red and black CarPlay wallpaper, and they got rid of it. And now the only option that's even close is got blue in it, and so it's red, black, and blue. So I'm gonna have to add blue LEDs in my car. And
what an unmitigated disaster. Could you somehow use your developer entitlements to hack into CarPlay and set your own wallpaper?
I don't know that's something you could do as a developer. I'm sure that is something that has been addressed by a jailbreak tweak. You could choose custom CarPlay wallpapers.
That's no fun, though.
I don't understand, for the 15 years the iPhone has existed, why they've felt the need to always get rid of wallpapers when they added new ones. Because there's lots of classic wallpapers that I'd love to go back to. iOS 4's water drop wallpaper is always one of my favorite wallpapers ever. And of course they've gotten rid of that and many more. The iconic wallpapers that for some reason they decided they don't want to ship with their phones anymore.
Yeah, I guess you just can't have the list become longer and longer and longer forever. You have to prune. The the clownfish is coming back in iOS 16 though. Coming back, but also kind of here for the first time. That is my wallpaper right now on my phone. What do you mean? It was never the default wallpaper, was it? That's what you mean?
It never shipped. No, it was the wallpaper on the iPhone when Steve Jobs demoed it on stage, but it's never actually been on an iPhone.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. And
so that's cool to have. That's why I'm using it now.
And the interesting thing about that is people have found a muted version of it, which would potentially be used when the phone was in always on display mode, but asleep.
Mm-hmm.
I think are they water lilies or no, not water lilies. What do you call those? The things around the fish, those green. Yeah, they're water lilies, aren't they?
I don't know what they're called. I'll take your word for it. They're not lily pads because they're underwater.
Lily pads. That was what I was looking for, but you're right there. I was always picturing that this was the surface of the water and the fish were kind of coming up to the surface.
I suppose that's possible. It just looks like a very side-on view, but it could be top-down.
But anyway, they lose their bright green and the fish lose their orange when the phone is in sleep but display on mode.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are a couple of other wallpapers that do a similar thing. Along with the complications on the screen, have like a dull mode for on but not on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that's been found in the emulators and the latest Xcode betas. It seems like the writing's on the wall at this point.
Yeah, I think, yep. Almost definitely getting an always-on iPhone 14 Pro, probably. Maybe not non-Pro.
I almost wouldn't upgrade, but this dang deep scratch in my screen is driving me crazy. So I have no choice now. Yep.
But don't fool yourself. You're going to upgrade regardless.
I'm flattered that you know me so well.
While we're kind of on the iOS 16 topic, I did have a few thoughts on iOS 16 because I did run it for a few days before the scare and the downgrade.
Okay.
So Siri punctuation is kind of nice, but also kind of annoying. Have you played with it too much, or
Siri doesn't work?
Siri doesn't work. Not even the dictation part of it.
None of it. Yeah.
I reckon 4 times out of 5, Siri puts in good punctuation. So it seems to detect not the tone of the voice, but maybe the order of the words, because within like 2 words, it'll know, this is going to be a question. And so it's already pre-filled the question mark, and then it chucks all the other words, on the left of the question mark, so you can see what's happening as you talk. So that's really good. Commas, it's also quite good with. The only issue I've had is it sometimes split a single sentence into 2 sentences unnecessarily, and in a way that also doesn't make sense. So it is a little bit of a straddle between helpful and annoying, which is what I expected when they announced the feature. But 4 times out of 5, it's better to have it than to not have it. And it stops you from having to say question mark whenever you're dictating, which for some reason I just find stupid.
My issue, I did get a little bit of experience with it in early on in the beta, before Siri stopped working. But the extent of my experience was I'm so used to dictating the punctuation that I forgot it was an option every time and did it anyway.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if dictating your own punctuation overwrites the ML punctuation.
Well, yeah, it certainly didn't give me any issues. Like it worked just as it always had. So it must be at least a little smart in that regard.
Nice. I also found that Siri dictation was quite a lot faster than previous iOSs. And this is coming from this is on the iPhone 10, which doesn't have any of the local dictation features that the newer phones have. So that's cool.
What's the processor in the iPhone 10?
Ooh.
A12? 12. That would be 8. Was that the A12 Fusion then? So it was before the neural engine, or was it already the A12 Bionic at that point?
I'd have to Google it.
I'm Googling it. A11 Bionic.
Oof.
Okay, so it was the Bionic already, which means it does have a neural engine in it.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think it was until the 12s that there was any sort of on-device Siri capabilities.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean, yeah, okay. The rest of Siri is just as bad as ever, though.
Siri is exceptionally bad for me. It did open my eyes a bit. I never realized how much I used Siri until it didn't work, and now it's very frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A recent favorite or favorite hate of Siri is that you can't say, "Yo Siri, play my favorites mix" anymore, which is a playlist I play a lot. And now every time I say that, it picks out this song called Favorites by RuPaul or something and just plays that instead. Incredibly frustrating because play my favorites mix is something I've been saying for years. So it's just such a habit to say, and it doesn't work.
You want a solution to that?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to keep using the same voice command?
I suppose.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, you just need to make a shortcut to play that playlist, and then you can set the Siri trigger to whatever you want it to be.
Okay. And that will take precedence over RuPaul?
That would be my expectation, yeah. It tends to be whatever your shortcut names come first over anything else. Because I have some shortcut names that are very generic, and Siri would try to do something else if I didn't have a shortcut named that.
All right. I'll give that a bell.
All right.
Another thing I quite liked from iOS 16 is that you don't have to have an Apple Watch to get or to close your activity ring. So the activity ring can now be standalone iPhone feature. Now you do lose the exercise ring because there's no heart rate tracking, and you don't have a stand ring for whatever reason. Probably it just doesn't make as much sense when it's on the phone that you don't necessarily have with you. Or maybe you just can't do like there's no way you could do as an accurate stand detection with a phone.
Right, because people, a phone could be in a purse and sideways and it wouldn't register as standing or whatever.
Yeah. You don't want to force people to have to put their phone in their pocket vertical all the time. But yeah, it is just appears, if you have it as a widget on the lock screen, it's just a single ring, and it just detects, guesstimates calories or kilojoules burned based on movement from the motion coprocessor. And of course, alongside that, Fitness Plus now doesn't need a watch to be even paired with the phone to be used. Previously, you could use it without a watch just by tapping that continue without watch button when you started a workout, but now it'll be there even if you don't have a watch paired to the phone.
It seems like something that should have existed day one.
Yeah.
So if for no other reason, then, it expands the market of people that could be subscribing to Fitness Plus.
My theory is they did it this way because, the original way where it needed a watch kind of as a trial of how successful would this be / how many more watches can we sell by making it watch only. And I think
it was the iPod approach where it was Mac only for a couple of years.
Maybe, yeah. And now that those people have potentially bought watches already and that part of the market's as saturated as it's going to be, then they can reach the much bigger market of iPhone owners without Apple Watches. So probably a smart move there.
I think that's a huge market, like not only iPhone owners, but even Android phone owners tend to generally agree that the iPad is the best tablet. So there's a lot of people that have Android phones and still use iPads. So they could potentially have Fitness Plus too. I assume that works on the iPad as well.
Yeah, so yeah, it would do. I know in the past we've kind of talked about how to get fitness on an iPad because you only needed one watch paired to a phone for one family member, and another family member who didn't have a watch but did have an iPad could use Fitness Plus. if I'm remembering correctly. I think that's right.
Yeah, that's pretty silly.
Yeah. So the just one last batch of thoughts I had on iOS 16 is the lock screen. So I found that having the widgets / complications, whatever you want to call them, on the lock screen is really cool, because previously I had a few home screen widgets, and those home screen widgets take up, like a 4x4 grid each in their smallest size. But the ones that I had there were the ones that I just needed glanceable information. So by having complications on the lock screen, it means I freed up a lot of space on my home screen for icons, which I found really handy. And then all the other widgets that I actually interact with that aren't so much glanceable things are on the today screen, or whatever you call it. So okay. I like that change.
My experience with the complications and even home screen widgets is I have them set up, but I really don't use them because, like you said, the main thing they're there for is glanceable information. I have like calendar events and weather are the two main ones.
Yeah.
But both of those are on my watch. And so if I need to glance at it, I always just look at my watch. I never think to go into my phone for that information.
Okay. I've been watch on again, off again the last week. So yeah, it's mostly been when I didn't have my watch that I found that those widgets most useful.
Right. So the watch is still giving you trouble, huh?
No.
Because you've thrown it away. No more trouble.
I really persevered with the strap, and I tried to push through the pain, but it literally got worse and worse, pain-wise. So okay. I think I said last show that I was looking at other bands, and I did end up buying on Amazon a $20 Link bracelet.
Oh, okay.
It is shockingly good quality for $20. I'll tell you that. For a Link bracelet, you don't get anything intricate made out of metal for $20. So it feels like metal. Listen to that.
Yeah, that's metal.
Sounds like metal. Looks like metal. But it has completely solved all of my wrist pain issues. I'm not having problems. Annoyingly, the links are just between like too loose and too tight. And I've opted for, possibly stupidly, but I've opted for too tight instead of too loose.
And that fixed your problem.
Because that's my preference. And also the preference of Burger Gaming on the subreddit, who commented that they can't stand having a loose watch, which I would agree with. So I've opted for too tight, and regardless, not having any wrist problems. So yeah, back on Team Apple Watch.
I cannot believe that fixed your problem. I was sure you were going to say it was between sizes, so you opted for looser, and now it doesn't hurt. But how does clamping it down on your wrist even tighter fix the problem for you?
Well, just to clarify, it's not any tighter than I would wear the sports loop. It's about the same tightness. So
it's just,
or maybe
so it's
maybe
just that it's metal that's making it better.
Tighter. Yeah, exactly. What is it? What is the difference?
I mean, my only thought would be like the metal is so rigid, it's not conforming to your wrist and maybe putting pressure in a way the fabric would have been at that tight.
But it's a Link bracelet which is like ultra conforming.
Yeah, I don't know. You've just developed some kind of fabric allergy.
Yeah, but I had that leather one as well. That's the thing. I like two completely different classes of watch strap, and they both gave me wrist pain. And now I've got one that's like a third, which is probably a whole separate class as well, and it doesn't. So it's baffling.
All right. Well, since you've given it such high praises, do you have your Amazon cart at hand where you could make a brand recommendation so people don't make the $500 mistake I did when I bought a Link bracelet?
I certainly can, and I'll quickly chuck it in the Discord so you can have a quick look as well. All right, so it is the well-known Besband, Besband.
Ah, okay.
Besband,
so it's not quite
for iWatch for men, women, as it's described. Amazing.
It's so it's a unique look. It's not like trying to mimic Apple's Link bracelet design.
Oh, isn't it? Okay, I'm not as familiar with the Link bracelet as you are. Maybe I should have looked that up first.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite a bit different. It's got 3 like separate segments along the width of the band, whereas the Link bracelets from Apple are one long full width link that are all attached together.
Okay. Yeah, I see. It's quite different now, isn't it? I thought a Link bracelet was more of this class of band and not so much an Apple term.
Maybe they're misusing it. I don't know.
Probably not. I'm sure I'm the one that's wrong.
Johnny and I wouldn't make that mistake.
No, that's it.
So
it's surprisingly hard to Google because you look up Link bracelet and it's just all Apple Watches.
Right. So, well, good. I'm glad you found a solution so you can keep kicking with your Apple Watch.
Yeah. Happy days.
Now you got a reason to upgrade to the 8 when it comes out next month.
Ooh, imagine if this bracelet didn't fit the Series 8.
Oh no, imagine if you wasted $20.
No, not less that and more. How am I going to find one that doesn't give me wrist pain? Like, it might be a whole thing again.
Oh, right.
I might be $1,000 deep before I find one that works.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, at least now you know kind of the class of band that you need that would work. So that's a starting point.
I have a particular affinity to this style of band as well because it's the style my dad wore while I was growing up. He wore it all the time, so it's quite a bit of nostalgia for me.
It's very classy too. It really dresses up the Apple Watch more than the smart loops or the sport loops or whatever.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. And because I've got the stainless steel watch, it's not a perfect finish match, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, that's what I paid the $500 for, was that perfect match. So I just threw a couple, just the most interesting things I could find in the Apple subreddit in here. There wasn't a lot to talk about this week. But the top most interesting thing to come out just in the last 24 hours are some alleged leaked CAD renders of the base model iPad coming out this year.
So that'll be the 10th generation no-named iPad? The one that normally goes for like $300?
Right. And you're going into this very up in the air which direction they could go. This is such a cheap iPad, and the whole point is that it's cheap. I could see them retaining the classic old design for another couple years. That wouldn't surprise me. But what they've done instead is opted for, if these CAD renders are to be believed at all, opted for some middle ground where they've got the squared off design of every other iPad with the USB-C port, But instead of an edge-to-edge display, it looks kind of more like a traditional iPad in the front with still a home button and everything.
That is an unusual mix of designs and probably production processes to build it as well.
Right. Yeah, it seems like it's almost more effort to try to engineer that old design to fit the new body. But I guess maybe without having the curved corners on the screen, and maybe the home button is still... Maybe the home button is really important in like the use cases that these cheap iPads are used in. Like it's easier for elementary school kids or something like that. And so they're really trying to like retain that.
Now the iPad 9th Gen works with the old Apple Pencil, is that right?
Right.
So by moving to flat sides, they could also use the new Apple Pencil with this iPad.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a reason for flattening the sides. And it looks like they're also putting in the landscape stereo speakers as well, instead of the classic portrait stereo where they're both at the bottom.
Yeah, I actually don't hate the design. I'd prefer, for consistency's sake, if maybe we can get rid of the home button, but I definitely could see where for children or older people that home button is comfortable and easy to use, and you might want to leave it there for them. And if they can keep it, right at the $350 price point that these base model iPads have been coming in, I think it could be very popular.
One interesting tidbit was the display size is changing. Now, the article says it's expected to feature a larger display, which is wider but slimmer than the 9th Gen iPad. Now, I think they might have mixed up a few things here, because isn't every single iPad 4:3? Like, there hasn't been a different aspect ratio iPad, has there?
I don't believe so.
So what I'm guessing is that it is getting a larger display, but it's just the measurements of the body that's changing. So if they say it's wider but slimmer than the 9th Gen iPad, that lines up with having the smaller bezels of the flat side industrial design, but retaining the home button on the front.
Mm-hmm.
All that lines up.
Is there... I'm trying to see here. Apple could have a larger 10.5 or 10.9 inch display, I see. Because it's currently 10.2, which is already a bump up from the standard size iPad has had for the last decade.
Yeah, so a lot makes sense.
Yeah. The only thing that, or the thing that I've seen a lot of people complain about is it seems from these renderings that they're ditching the headphone jack as well.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
That is annoying.
It seems like, again, in those like classroom settings, a pair of wired headphones could still be very handy.
I guess they've just got to get USB-C headphones then, hey?
Get every kid a pair of AirPods.
All that. AirPod Maxes.
There you go. So, yeah, or you're just going to have to get, the USB-C dongle or something to plug headphones in.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It just, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense in an iPad where there's so much empty space inside there. There's no excuse as far as like we needed to fit another component in there for getting rid of it.
Nope, none at all. They could have even made it a high impedance headphone jack. Although probably not in the budget iPad. Yeah, they've angled headphone jacks as an exclusively pro feature now in their lineup. As they should be.
Right. Only pros need that.
And secondly, I saw that the first batch of Apple Arcade games to disappear has disappeared.
Right. Yeah, I was curious to get your opinion on it. It kind of makes sense as a streaming service, that, of course, content is going to come and go, but that was certainly never made clear up until, a few weeks ago when they created this like leaving soon section in the arcade. And they're like, these games won't exist.
I certainly didn't expect it when they announced it, but it does line up with what other game streaming services, game subscription services do. I suppose it creates like a scarcity sort of angle to the games that are there, and perhaps gives them slightly more value in the eyes of the person who with the subscription. I mean, it's not like you subscribe and you expect to own the games, so it should be no surprise that some games aren't there forever. And I bet the developers like it as well. Like, oh, let's give Apple Arcade a try, but we only have to commit to 12 months, and then we can be on the regular App Store and see which one works for us. So it kind of works for everybody.
Yeah, I agree that makes sense that the platform would do that. The biggest frustration for me, I say, being someone who doesn't play games very often, is the fact that you can take your app and from Apple Arcade and list it in the App Store, but it's technically not the same app. So unless the developer puts in some extra work to be hosting your save file somewhere else, you're going to lose all your progress in this game you might have loved in Apple Arcade if you have to like rebuy it from the App Store.
That's right, because they're called like blah blah plus or something, right? When they're on Apple Arcade, it's not the same game.
Right.
Huh. Yeah, I wonder how that will work. I'm like you. I'm not a serious enough gamer to even comprehend what pain that could cause someone who's really committed to something.
Right.
But yeah, I can see why the serious gamer might be turned off from the service.
Do you have any Apple Arcade games you've been playing with at all recently?
No, not at all, but it is on the list because I'm getting on a long flight and I may have the need to play some games. I have a couple installed. I have a couple installed from... Remember we talked about that list of like the top something Apple Arcade games that someone went through all of them and ordered them, ranked them?
Yeah. Yep.
I think I installed a couple from the top 5. Have I played them? No.
I've got one Apple Arcade game that I've really gotten into in the last couple of weeks that I play on my phone and on my Mac.
Ooh, give it to me. This sounds good.
It's called Round Guard.
Guard or card?
Round Guard.
Okay.
And I was a big fan of Peggle in the past. And Round Guard is very reminiscent of Peggle. It's inspired by that kind of gameplay. But it's a little... It's like taking the Peggle gameplay mechanics and mixing it with like an RPG or a roguelike kind of game, which are genres that I really enjoy. I don't know if any of that translated or made sense, but I've been enjoying it. It's very replayable and it's short sessions.
Hopefully some of the listeners got something out of that, but it was all kind of another language to me. But
okay,
I did click download while you were talking, so I'll have a go, and then next time maybe I'll understand what it's all about.
Yeah, you've got to start getting through some of these arcade games so you can pick some good ones for the flight, and then you can come and give we can have, instead of James's spoiler-free movie reviews, we can have Apple Arcade reviews.
Okay. I hope everyone's looking forward to that.
I am.
Sure. Just very briefly, while we're on the topic of games, what I have been playing recently not iPhone, not even Apple related at all, but F1, Formula 1 2022 came out, and it's the first F1 game with VR support. It's not great VR support, as in it's fairly low quality. Very much a first crack at it, but it's playable and it's quite fun as well.
So what is your go-to VR racing sim?
The go-to is Assetto Corsa, it's called, which is a fairly... I think the game's about 10 years old, but it's one of those games which the community can mod to smithereens. So, yeah, it's kept up to date by the community, and it has an excellent VR engine.
Ah, okay.
And it costs like $10 as well, so it's nothing.
Oh, yeah, it's really cheap. I had a racing game VR set up for a while with the controller, but I don't even remember what game it was anymore. Project Cars, that was the game I played with it.
Okay.
But I think it was a bit more than $10.
All right, should we wrap up?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm James VDM on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And Instagram. And you can find the show notes at reddit.com/r/bluebubblepod.